Hey friends, the government has exclusive contracts that are only available to women-owned firms. So in today's video, we're going to crack the code on how to grow your woman-owned business. We're going to cover the new changes that could help you win more contracts. And then we'll walk through the requirements so you can know if you're eligible. And then we'll go over how to get certified so that you can start bidding on those federal contracts that are only available to women-owned firms. Maybe you looked into the program in the past and you learned that contracts set aside for women-owned businesses were only available in certain industries. Well, the great news is the government has recently expanded the program to include a lot more industries. So now almost all industries are included. Let me show you exactly how this works. The government designates the industries that are eligible for women-owned set-asides by NAICS code. NAICS codes just describe what product or service you sell. If you're not sure of your NAICS code, go to the website I'm showing you here. It's census.gov/NAICS. Do a keyword search for what your business does, and it'll tell you the NAICS code. Now, there are actually two different certifications you can get because within the Women-Owned Small Business Program called WOSB, there's a subset for economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses called EDWOSB. So some contracts are reserved for WOSBs and some contracts are further restricted to only EDWOSBs. And let me show you how this works. On this page, we can see those industries, those NAICS codes that are eligible for set-aside contracts. And when we look through this list, we see most of the NAICS codes are designated for all WOSBs, but some of them are limited to only EDWOSBs. Let's take a look at a few of these. If you provide janitorial services, that's NAICS code 561720, then it's on the list for EDWOSB, but not WOSB. But if you provide office administrative services, that's NAICS code 561110, that's open to all WOSBs. The important thing to remember is that EDWOSB is just a subset of WOSB. So every EDWOSB is also a WOSB and so is eligible for everything listed here as WOSB. And here's a tip for you. When you register your business in the government's database called SAM, it requires you to list your NAICS codes. And you're going to designate one of them as your primary NAICS code. For the code you list as your primary NAICS code, be sure to use one that's on that list I just showed you. And here's a question I get asked a lot. Yes, you can add more NAICS codes or change your primary NAICS code. Just go back into SAM and update your registration. The difference between the two programs, WOSB and EDWOSB, is this. There are no economic criteria for the WOSB program, but there are economic criteria for the EDWOSB program. And those economic criteria have changed recently, and that's the next change I want to show you. These are the new economic criteria for the EDWOSB program. The old numbers used to be lower. And when I was researching this video, I found a bunch of SBA websites still showing the old numbers. They haven't updated all their web pages yet, but the numbers I'm showing you here are the new numbers. To determine whether you qualify, the SBA looks at your net worth, adjusted gross income, and total assets. The numbers are $850,000 for net worth, $450,000 for AGI, and $6.5 million in total assets. If you think you're close to these levels, or maybe you think you won't qualify, go read the fine print on how they calculate these things. because I think you might qualify once you understand how they do the math on these things. As just one example, the money you've got in your IRA isn't counted when they calculate your personal net worth. And remember, these numbers don't apply for WOSB. They're just for EDWOSB. So let's run through the requirements for WOSB and see if you qualify. First, the woman owner must be a U.S. citizen, and she must own at least 51% of the business and control the business. She has to manage the day-to-day operations and also make the long-term decisions for the business. And by the way, the business does have to be organized for a profit. Nonprofits aren't eligible. In terms of the legal form of the business, well, that's up to you. It can be a sole proprietorship, partnership, LLC, or SRC Corp. But of course, the business does have to qualify as a small business. Now, we talked about NAICS codes. In each industry, each NAICS code has its own definition of what is a small business. And the government calls this the Small Business Size Standard. The small business size standards vary widely by industry, and some of them are really large, going up to $47 million in average annual receipts, or 1,500 employees. This website I'm showing you here gives you an easy way for you to look up the size standard for your NAICS code. So another tip for you, check the size standard and make sure that for the NAICS code you list as your primary NAICS code, you qualify as a small business. So now let's go over how to apply, because before you can bid on these set-aside contracts, you do need to apply to obtain that certification. You've probably heard that there are a bunch of different certifications, like WOSB, Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business, HubZone, and 8A. And it's normal for companies to have more than one certification. For example, maybe your business gets women-owned and also 8A certification. Maybe you thought you submit one application and they give you the certifications that you qualify for. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I wish it worked that way. But unfortunately, it's not how the government operates. You do need to submit a separate application for each of the government programs like Woman-Owned or 8A, and you apply for the Woman-Owned program at this website, and then click on the button that says Get Started. And by the way, there are organizations who will certify you for a fee, but you know my channel is all about how to do things for free. And it's completely free to get certified using this website. And this website also has a lot of information to help you. Click on the Prepare tab and you'll find checklists that tell you the documents you'll need to submit when you apply. And when you click on the Knowledge Base tab, you'll find a bunch of information, including a user guide that has screenshots of the entire process and walks you through it step by step. And another thing I want to point out to you, in the old days, the website was called Beta Certify, and most of the documentation you'll see about this program hasn't been updated yet and still tells you to go to that old website. For example, this is that user guide I told you about, and it's showing you the old website address. So when something tells you to go to Beta Certify, just ignore it and use the government's new website, wosb.certify.sba.gov. And one thing you may be wondering, maybe you've heard that some programs, like the 8A program, they want you to be in business for 2 years before you apply. There's no requirement like that for the WOSB program. There's no waiting period. But there is one thing you need to do before you can apply, and that is you need to have an active registration in SAM. You can think of SAM as the government's central database of contractors. It's how the government knows who you are. If you haven't registered your business yet, I made a video that walks you through the registration process step by step. And by the way, It's in this SAM registration process where you're going to enter your NAICS codes. My video on SAM registration does a deep dive explanation of NAICS codes and how to choose them for your business. So check out that video. I've put a link to it in the notes below. Hey friends, are you excited about the prospect of a new revenue stream for your business and want to learn more? Well, I've spent decades learning this stuff, and I've distilled it all down for you in my complete course on how to become a government contractor and grow your business with government contracts. So click on the link to go to the course, and I'll see you next time.